Okay, today we're going to solve the inequalities by multiplication and division. Yesterday we learned how to do it with addition and subtraction. Today it's going to be exactly the same. Like I've told you, you treat it just like there's equal sign, except for a couple cases, which this is what we get to today, where it's slightly different, and you have to be aware of those differences, okay, so you don't keep making the same mistakes. Here for multiplication, you can see A is greater than B. All they do is, instead of writing numbers, they write variables that you can replace with numbers that demonstrate. So A is greater than B. So if you weren't for sure what that means, you just replace A with 3 and B with 2, okay? Because 3 is greater than 2. Well, what this says is AC is greater than BC. If C is greater than 0, if it's positive, if C, the number you're multiplying by, is positive, then your sign doesn't change. Here it's greater than. Here it's greater than, so it doesn't change. As long as C is a positive number when you multiply by, your sign doesn't change. What you do need to realize is that when C is negative, when C is less than 0, when you multiply A and B, your sign changes. Here it's greater than, but when I divide or when I multiply by a negative number, I had to change my sign. Okay? And I can prove it to you. Let's just go with 3 and 2 again. 3 is greater than 2. Yes, we know. Let's say I'm multiplying by a negative number. Let's say I'm multiplying by negative 1. So C is less than 0, so I'm multiplying by a negative number. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, and 2 times negative 1 would be negative 2. All I do is change the sign. Well, here's the deal. You look at here, it's a greater than symbol. Here it says it should be less than symbol. So if I follow my rule, I change the sign. Is this a true statement? Negative 3 is less than negative 2? Yep. Yes, it is. That's the reason why they tell you have to change the sign. If you don't change your sign, then you get negative 3 is greater than negative 2. Is that a true statement? No. So the only way to keep the inequalities true when you times by a negative number is to change your sign. Write this down. Negative 3/7 R is less than 21. I've got to get R by itself. I'm timesing it by negative 3/7. So normally when we times by a number, we divide, but we can't do that with fractions. Right? So we treat it just like there's an equal sign there. To get rid of the fraction, I times by the reciprocal, which would be 7/3. Which cancels everything out. So R drops down, and I times this side by the exact same thing, negative 7/3. Which I find a couple things that I can cancel out. And I get my number. That'd be negative 49. Because 7 times 7, or 7 times negative 7 is negative 49. Now my question, and that you always have to think, is does my sign stay the same, or do I change it? Right now it's less than. What does it need to be now? Greater than. I multiply by a negative number. So my rule said that I change the sign. Right? And if you're not for sure about that, right, you can always check. Right? What is a number that would be bigger than negative 49?
Negative 48.
Okay, you can go with something like that. I would actually go with negative 7, but it's just because I like the numbers better. Okay, I just do, and you'll like them here in a second too. Let's say I replace R with negative 7, which is a number bigger than negative 49. And let's see if this stays the same. Let's see if this is a true statement. What is it? If I take negative 3/7 times negative 7, the 7s would cancel. See why I picked 7? Negative 3 times negative 1 would be what? Positive 3. Good, class. Is 3 less than 21?
Yes.
Yeah, so I must have done it right. If I had picked a number that was bigger, if I picked a number that was smaller than 49, like let's say I hadn't changed this sign, and it says R is less than negative 49. If I pick a number that's less than that, okay, guess what? This would be false, right?
So you practically switched the sign.
So if I multiply by a negative number, I have to change my sign to keep it true. Okay? All right, write this one. Negative n divided by 6 is less than or equal to 8. I've got to get n by itself. So I times by negative 6 to both sides since I was dividing by it. times by negative 6. 8 times negative 6 is negative 48. Okay, and then I realize I times by a negative number, so I have to change my sign. Okay, if this is less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, then this is going to be the opposite and it's going to be equal to.
Will it have
Right.
a graph?
It might. It might have your graph. I'll have to look. The notes right now haven't asked for your graph. But here, make sure that if this is equal to, this has to be equal to. Okay? If it's just less than up here, then this is going to be greater than. If it's greater than up here, then it's going to be less than. But if there's an equal to, that follows, that stays with it. Should I check my answer?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. What's the number bigger than or equal to negative 48?
Negative 47.
Negative 48.
You could go with negative 48, you go with negative
Let's go with negative.
47. I like the number 0. Okay. What is 0 divided by negative 6?
0.
Which is 0 smaller than or less than negative 8 or 8? Is 0 less than or equal to 8? Yes, it is. So this must be the answer.
How is it equal?
1/5 of m is greater than or equal to negative 3. To get rid of 1/5, I times by the reciprocal, which is 5 over 1. So really all I'm doing is timesing by 5. So m would drop down. What's negative 3 times 5? Negative 15. My sign at the top was greater than or equal to, so what should be my sign at the bottom?
Less than.
No, it should not be less than or equal to. Right?
Oh, because you're not timesing by
It is greater than or equal to. Here is why. Did I times or divide by a negative number?
No.
No, I didn't. Okay, I times by a positive number. It does not matter what this is. That's not the number that's doing the multiplying. It's being multiplied to, it's not being multiplied by. Okay, this is the random bystander. Okay, this didn't get a choice, right? Here, okay, 5 is the one that you're moving to the other side. So the one you move to the other side, the one you're multiplying by, that's the one that decides if you flip the sign or not. Okay? If you flip the sign, if you had flipped the sign, you should have checked your answer and found that it didn't work. So you would have picked something else, right? Okay? So always check your work. That's why it's important here. But again, just because this is negative doesn't mean you're going to change your sign. It doesn't make it automatic. It's the number that's doing the multiplying. All right, write this down. Now here's the rules for division. Right? A is greater than B. They say if you divide both of these by C, as long as C is positive, nothing changes. But again, if you're dividing, just like if you multiply by a negative number, then you have to change your sign. Here, okay, A divided by C is less than B divided by C because C was negative. When you divide by a negative number, okay, it changes your sign. So you have to make sure you pay attention to that so you know to flip. Right? If you don't flip, you're going to get it wrong. All right, let's do this problem. I have 60t is greater than 8. So what I need to do is I need to get t by itself. So I divide by 60, which makes that a fraction because fractions are division problems. So I divide by 60 over here, which fractions are division problems. Okay, and I need to figure out what 8 divided by 60 is. You guys know? Right. Well, in case you did the math in your head, you should have got 2/15. Right. By reducing by 4. And do I change my sign? No, I didn't divide by a negative number. Right. There's not a fraction with a negative number on it, so there's my answer. T greater than 2/15, which is a fraction. I've got negative 7d is less than or equal to 147. What I need to do is get d by itself. So since I'm timesing by negative 7, I divide by negative 7, which looks like a fraction, but we know fractions are division problems. And what I do once I do the other, so I've got a fraction over here, 147 over negative 7, which is a division problem. Which 147 divided by negative 7 is negative 21. Now I need to decide what my sign is going to be. Am I going to keep it the same as less than or equal to, or do I change it? Since I divided by a negative number, I have to switch it to make it d is greater than or equal to negative 21. Pick a number that's greater than or equal to negative 21. It's a true statement. Let's go with the easy number of 0. 0 times negative 7 is 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 147? Yes, it is, so this must be right. All right, write this one. Negative 12h is greater than 15. I need to get the variable by itself, so I divide by negative 12. What I do one side, I do the other. H is on the left. 15 over negative 12. They've been writing these as fractions. They just reduce this to negative 5/4. Your job is to figure out, does it stay the greater than symbol or change to the less than symbol? Right? It would change because I'm dividing by a negative number. So I go from greater than to the less than symbol. Here is your assignment for today.